This week, I'm taking inspiration from Michael Tonsmeyer's American Sour Beers, and I'm making a sour porter. Most people have probably tried a porter, but a sour porter, that's something entirely different. I couldn't find a commercial example in my area, so I grabbed this oud brewing instead. I'm hoping to create a dark sour like this one, but with a decent head, rich and roasted aroma, sweet malty flavors, moderate acidity, and medium to full body. With any luck, this will finish up just in time for the peak of fall weather. Now, let's make some beer. For this beer, I'm using some local spring water, and I'm adjusting the water profile using gypsum, calcium chloride, chalk, and baking soda. While this step isn't necessarily required to make good beer, it definitely helps, especially if you want to make something great. The recipe for today includes 82% pale 2-row, 5% each of chocolate wheat malt, crystal 40, and carapils, and about 3% roasted barley. I'm going with a single infusion at 155 degrees Fahrenheit or about 68 degrees Celsius. Let's get it going. I'll keep mashing this in until everything is nice and saturated, then I'll start a 1-hour timer. We're only about 10 minutes into the boil, and it looks like I'm way over temp. This has happened to me in the past with both the mash and boil and the gigawort. Luckily, a good stirring usually fixes the problem, so there's really no need to panic. While the mash finishes up, I need to filter that fest beer we made recently and get it into a keg. Let's check it out. This is my first time using pressure fermentation, and everything went super smoothly. Now, I'm going to try another technique for the first time, filtering. The first thing I need to do is sanitize the filter, so I'm pushing Star San through the filter using a couple kegs and some CO2. Then, to purge the sanitizer from the filter, I decided to reverse the flow, and that left me with a sanitized filter and keg full of CO2. Now, I can hook this up to the fest beer and start filtering. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left in the mash, and I want to recirculate the wort to clear it up a bit. And I should probably clean that keg out as well. Alright, that's enough of that. Time to yank these grains and get our boil started. Now that the basket is up and out of the wort, I'm cranking this thing to full blast. Once we're up to full boil, I'll start a 1-hour timer. Okay, we're up to full boil, and it's time for the first hop addition. I have some first year Cascade vines going, and they didn't produce much, but I figured I might as well throw them in. On top of that, I'm adding 14 grams of Magnum and our 60-minute timer starts now. The next hop addition isn't until flame out. In the meantime, let's check in on the sour IPA we made in the last episode and transfer it into a keg.
Start it up.
In the last episode, we made a sour IPA and co-pitched Lactobacillus plantarum with a pretty unique strain of Saccharomyces from White Labs. I dry hopped it with 14 grams each of Galaxy, Enigma, and Vic Secret at high Krausen and again a day before cold crashing. Now, it's ready to hit the keg. The first thing I need to do is try to purge the keg of as much oxygen as possible so it doesn't ruin the beer. Now, I can start the transfer. I wasn't totally sure how well this would sour due to the hops I added on brew day, but sure enough, the pH is at about 3.8 and it seems to mesh well with the hops. The next thing I need to do is pop the top on and purge any remaining oxygen. I like to fill the headspace with about 5 psi of CO2, pull the release valve, and repeat the process 4 or 5 times. Normally, I'd throw this in the kegerator next and crank the CO2 up to 20 psi for a few days to carbonate the beer, but Blickman sent me a new toy to play with. Let's head upstairs and check it out. With the Blickman Quick Carb, I can carbonate this beer in just 1 hour. The included pump pulls beer from the liquid outport, forces it past a small carbonation stone which injects CO2 into the beer, and then it flows back into the keg. After sanitizing the system, I can attach the CO2 line to an empty port on my kegerator, attach the liquid ball lock, purge the lines of oxygen, and finally, connect the gas ball lock to complete the loop. Now, all I need to do is turn on the pump and let it run for up to an hour. Okay, the chiller's in and we're almost ready to chill. Before we do, I need to add one more hop addition. Here's 3.5 grams of Magnum. Now, I'm gonna get this thing chilled and transferred, and I'll show you where it'll be hanging out during fermentation. I've got this mini fridge hooked up to an Inkbird controller and I set the temperature to 65 degrees Fahrenheit or about 18 degrees Celsius. I'm going with Belgian ale yeast from White Labs for primary fermentation and I'm planning on transferring it into my 10-liter barrel for secondary. More to come. If you like this video, let me know in the comments and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you again soon.